What's up, everyone?
It's Dani.
And Nick.
Today's video is going to be all about the best things to see and do in Aruba. We got great feedback on all of our other best things to see and do videos. We like to travel and help you guys plan your trip. So if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel down below. Now let's get into it. We always like to preface these videos with some important facts before we jump into our best things to see and do. So number one is that
the reason we were in Aruba in the first place was to get married. So we were there for a total of 10 days, and then we obviously did our honeymoon there as well. So that's kind of how we were going into Aruba, with those expectations. But because of the size of the island, almost no matter what reason you're there, you can probably do most of the things in the time that we were there.
And we split our stay into two different hotels. We first stayed at the Rio Palace and Teles, which is the adults only resort, but there is also a kid-friendly resort right next door. And then the other half, we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton, which was a little bit of a ways down, but all of the resorts are connected by a walking path with plenty of restaurants and shops to go to. And some other things that we looked into before we went to Aruba were, well, here are the answers, are that you don't need an outlet adapter there. They have the same outlets as we do
you're in the US.
In America. And they do have a different currency, but everyone takes American money, so it wasn't even worth changing your money. They also take credit cards. If you have a foreign transaction fee, that may apply. So we had cash on hand, but every person was willing to take our American money as well. And also with the language barrier, there really wasn't a language barrier. They speak like 4 different languages there, but everyone was pretty fluent in English.
Fun fact, it's a Dutch colony. So there's a huge Dutch influence still there, but all the, what was the main, Papiamento, I think, is the main language if you're a native Aruban. Then they speak Dutch some, they speak Spanish, English. They all grow up learning English. So yeah, there's definitely we had no problem communicating.
The last important thing I always like to mention, because personally, this is a big thing that I wonder when traveling somewhere new, is transportation. So when we arrived, we planned on taking a taxi and we did not have one set up. So we went from the airport to the Rio Palace first, and we got a taxi. I believe it was like $20, which was very reasonable, and we fit 5 people in the car. And there was a line right outside where you could just hop in and catch a taxi very easily. And then we rented a car for one day when we wanted to explore a little bit, but we did not have a car. The hotels have rentals that if you want to do one, but transportation, basically, as I said, there's a walking path, so you can walk basically anywhere that you could want to go. But if you want to go do some of the things that we're talking about here, there are tour groups, you could rent a car, or you can take a taxi. So there's a bunch of different transportation options all around Aruba.
And we did all of them, so we'll touch on each one. So kicking off this best things to see and do is with a Jeep tour that we took. It was with ABC Tours, and the way they work is they will pick you up at your hotel, and they take you to their kind of like headquarters. You fill out the waivers, and then you basically go out to see all these cool different things on the island of Aruba. Our first stop was Kasabari, I think I'm pronouncing that right, rock formation, which is a big natural rock formation where you can get a really cool like skyline view of Aruba. Mostly the island's pretty flat, but there's a few formations. This is one of the, I think, 2 or 3 on the island. Yeah. So you get a great view. It's kind of like really interesting how all these rocks were able just to pile up there, and it's really cool to take pictures. There's a lot of cool cactuses there. There's cactuses all over the island, but there's some really neat ones, like all in the rock formations. You get to climb to the top, and that was a really cool stop.
It was a short stop. It was a surprise stop. Like, we didn't know we were going there, and once we arrived, we were kind of like, what is this? But it was super cool to go to, and a nice little touch that the tour group did.
So in these Jeep tours, you're not driving. So you have a driver, basically a tour guide, who at each place will tell you a little bit of history about it, and then you get time to explore. Also, when you're driving, they kind of do some crazy, our driver did some crazy maneuvers on the road, which made it a little bit more fun too.
It is important to note that it is a very bumpy ride once you get to the national park, which is what we're going to touch on next. Some of the things that we saw were in the national park, and it was super bumpy, and you're flying all over. If you are a little bit
car sick,
yeah, you could be a little bit nervous to go on this tour. But I would personally be so afraid to drive myself, so I was so glad we did this with a tour guide.
So yeah, that brings us to our next stop on the thing, which was the natural pool. And that basically is pretty far off on the other side of the island. Definitely way more remote than the other part. You drive all these paved roads, and then it turns into a dirt road, and really it's just off-roading all the way until you get to the other side of the coast. You have one side of Aruba that has a really nice beach, really shallow waters. The other side, which is the side the natural pool is on, is a very deep water edge. It's like cliffs, super rough waves. You don't swim there, but there's this really neat formation where kind of like the rocks all come around and it's created this little pool, which is what they call the natural pool.
And I would say that the number one thing when I was asking people who lived or worked in Aruba what we should do, they all suggested the natural pool. But then with that being said, when we arrived, it was super crowded.
So crowded.
It was the middle of the day. I think if you would go in the morning, then it would have been a little bit less crowded. But a nice thing that the tour group did, they brought us to the historical natural pool just so we could see it and swim around for a little bit, which was awesome. But then after, they took us to their secret natural pool. I don't even think it really has a name. And they installed their own ladder, kind of like in the a little bit ways down, like we had to get back in the Jeeps and drive a little ways, and you climb down this pretty scary ladder, and then you get to the most beautiful swimming spot. No one else was there because it was so secret, and this tour group put it in there, and the water was crystal clear. You could jump off of a rock into the water, swim around there. We were there not that long because it was coming to the end of our day, but it was actually right next to the what was it called?
I want to say something about the two pools. So they're like very stark contrast. The natural pool, you drive down and you can see it. It's super crowded. There's a very good view. And then the other pool that Danielle was talking about, there's like a cliff, and then you climb down the stairs, and you cannot see the inland water the little pool that you're going to be jumping into till you're down there. So that's why it's super like a hidden gem.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a stark difference between the two, but it's really nice because obviously Aruba's hot. You get to cool off in two different places along the route.
So right next to it was the Bushiribana
Gold mine
ruins or gold mill ruins.
Yeah, we didn't find any gold.
Beautiful place. There was still the formation of, I believe that it was where like they found gold and they were like hiding it there.
19th century, I think, gold mine or
right along the ocean. So beautiful. Not something you spend a lot of time at because you just kind of walk around and then you're done. But really, really cool to go to, and definitely something to see and do in Aruba.
So another stop on the Jeep tour was the Natural Bridge. And basically what that is it's a sea bridge. So the sea has come and eroded the rock underneath and has formed like a really cool bridge. However, the famous natural bridge in Aruba was destroyed by a hurricane a few years ago, I want to say. And you can kind of see where it's collapsed and everything. But there's still what they call the baby bridge, which is right next to it.
And it was still big.
It's still big, and you can walk over it and get pictures and all that type of stuff. So
an important thing to note is that there is a building at the Natural Bridge where you can buy some snacks or go to the bathroom. Yes. There are not that many bathrooms around, so that is your place to go. And we will link down below the tour that we went on if you're interested, because I know that could be really helpful if you want to do a bunch of things in one day. I believe we were out for like 4 to 5 hours and got to see all these things. Another secret thing that they took us on that we didn't plan and we didn't know we paid for this or anything, like it was such a surprise. They said that we were going to go to one last spot, and it was a beach called Trace something. I'll put the words right here so that you can know where we went. And there were starfish all over the ocean. There were like these little caves you could swim under.
It said it's like one of the best beaches on the island.
It was so beautiful and such a great way to end the day, because at this point we had been to like the gold mill ruins, super hot now. We wanted to get back in the water. So it was a very nice touch.
You got to snorkel basically. There was like 30 minutes at the end of the day to swim around, snorkel, see tons of starfish.
That's another thing. The company provided you with a snorkel for the day if you did not bring your own. So now that we're done with the tour that we went on, we're gonna just do some single things that we did on our own. And one of the favorite things I've ever done, but especially in Aruba, was we went to the butterfly farm. Now, I was the one who was very interested in doing this, and everyone was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go, but we went one morning, so everyone just came with us. And it's actually right next to the Rio Palace, which is where we stayed in the beginning, so we just walked right across the street, and it was a little fee, but what you pay allows you while you're there for your entire stay, so you could go back time and time again, which we wanted to do, but we never actually made it back. You get to tour the butterfly farm, learn all of these facts about butterflies, get to see some in their cocoons, then you have all these butterflies flying all over. It was just really cool. One of the fun things we learned is that when butterflies drink the nectar from fruit, they actually get drunk, which is so funny. They were, and you could tell because they were like running into people. So that was really cool to learn. And the cocoons hatch at the break of dawn in the morning. So that's why they allow you to come back. So we never actually got to go back in the morning to watch the butterflies hatch, but that would be a really cool thing to do as well.
And if you go to the butterfly farm, something like really close is an old Dutch windmill. There's really not much to see there besides just kind of like looking at it. But
a good photo op.
Yeah, it's a cool photo op. So it's within a few hundred yards of the butterfly farm. And you can't miss it because it's giant.
Something similar because it has animals, but totally different, is the Phillips Animal Garden. And we took our car, that's the day we rented, but we did look into it. You can take a taxi there as well, but there's not much else around right there. It's pretty much by itself in the middle of the island, and you pay $10, which is a very small fee to get to do all these fun things. They give you a bag of food, and it's basically like a petting zoo. I don't even know how to describe it because it has all these animals everywhere, so many different species, and you get to feed all of the animals, which is so fun.
Yeah, it's not like a traditional, you're not just observing, you get to be more interactive. Yeah, so it's more like a petting zoo. But some animals you can't touch.
Yeah, like the monkeys you couldn't get near, but we were lucky we were able to get near them. Yeah. But hopefully the owner doesn't see this because I don't think we were supposed to. But one of the workers did help us out and let us see the monkeys, which was so fun. And the llamas were really cute.
They had camels.
Deer.
Yeah.
They had a lot of animals there. Something fun. I think it's more targeted for kids, but we really enjoyed it. And we saw people older than us there too who also were having a great time.
I think you can get there a few tours, maybe ATV tours stop by there because we saw some that were in the parking lot.
The other thing that we did when we went there, it was very close but just not walking distance, was a chapel. It's very...
Alta Vista Chapel.
The Alta Vista Chapel, which is very significant to Aruba. It's a special place. It's sacred. You don't go there to be loud and crazy. Everyone was very quiet and respectful.
It's old, very like a 19th century chapel.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
something to go check out. But another thing that there's not much to do there. There were some souvenir people selling things, and then you could go inside the chapel. But if you want to do two things in one day, then those two things are super fun to do.
Another thing that we did on the day that we had the car rented was the California Lighthouse, which is not really, it's on the very tip of the, I guess, north part of Aruba.
So closer to the Ritz-Carlton.
Yes. And so, yeah, it was not that far from the Ritz-Carlton. And really, there's not that much to do to see there besides the lighthouse, but it's definitely worth going. It's the 19th century.
There's a restaurant there,
there's a restaurant, so you can eat there. You get great views. On the restaurant, you can go off into their patio area, and you can get cool photo ops. You can have a drink. You can eat food. And then the lighthouse is just something neat to see. You can pay to go to the top. We didn't pay to do it, but I
don't think it was much. I think it was probably like $5. We just didn't have time because we were doing other things that day.
But it's definitely worth going to check out. And if you go early in the morning or maybe in the evening, you might be less crowded. But it's definitely a pretty big tourist attraction there.
I feel like we keep saying this, but another one of my favorite days was the day that we went snorkeling. It was something that we did before our wedding to have everyone get to bond and have a great experience before our wedding. And we went on a midday lunch excursion where it was with Midushi, so we will also link that down below if you're interested in the snorkeling excursion we did. Would totally recommend. All of the staff were super amazing. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had plenty of food for us, almost twice as much food.
Yeah.
And they were just great at telling us things that we were passing by, things that we were seeing. Another fun thing is they gave us a water bottle filled with little bread things that when you squirt, it would attract all the fish to you, which was super cool to have swarmed fish all around you. And the food was really good. As I said, the staff was really good. The water was perfect. And it was just something that filled your day, and also they served drinks, which were also very good. And they had great music, so we were dancing all night. just a great time. And if you don't have a big group, like we had the boat to ourselves because we had a big group, but if you don't, then you can just go on one of their organized trips. Say you have 1 or 2 people, however many people, you can go with other people and meet other people who are going on a snorkel trip with you, and that's fun as well.
So that trip starts out with an hour ride out to one of the snorkeling spots, and then I guess you snorkel there for maybe 45 minutes, and then you go to a different snorkeling spot, which is kind of closer to, I guess, maybe like the shore and the cliffs, where you can kind of see different type of coral and things. And then one of my favorite things after that, they have like a rope swing attached to the boat. So you kind of like climb up on this platform and you can swing off and jump. And we got to do that for about 30 minutes.
I wasn't going to do it. And then at the last minute, I decided I should do it. And it was so much fun.
And then it's, the hour ride or so back to the harbor.
Yeah, so maybe bring a jacket. I was glad I had a jacket because by the end the sun is setting and you're pretty wet and you have an hour boat ride with all of the wind. So make sure you have something dry to put on so that you're nice and comfortable.
So one of the biggest recreational activities to do in Aruba is kite and windsurfing. So kite surfing is the one where you see a kite way high up in the air and you kind of like have a wakeboard type thing attached to your feet. And then the windsurfing is more like a surfboard with a actual sail attached to it. I didn't do the windsurfing, I did kite surfing. It was really hard to learn, so if you haven't done it at all before, just don't plan to go for one lesson while you're there. You need to take a few because it's very difficult to learn. By my 3rd lesson, I was actually being able to ride around some and really had probably the most fun, but don't do it if you only have one lesson. You can get up and learn a lot easier from what they say with the windsurfing for that. But you see all the kite surfers out there because Aruba is such a windy place and they're doing all fun, crazy tricks, and it's just such a fun experience. And I'm glad I did it. But if you're going to do it, keep in mind, try to take more than one lesson and do them on consecutive days. So we had someone that wanted to join us in the video. Someone just woke up from their nap. But I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about the different hotels that we stayed at. Obviously, there's a lot more options, but if you're looking for a place to stay, you can consider these 2 places because we have a little bit of information and opinions about them.
As we said, we started our stays off at the Rio Palace Antilles, which is 18 and over resort, much smaller than the Rio Palace, like the original one, I guess.
They're connected more or less, like
right
next to each other.
Yeah, and you can go to restaurants at both of them. It's easier for you over 18 to go to the other one. And the other one was very much a huge hotel because they have room for all of the kids and everything. But ours was very nice because it was a little bit more laid back, no screaming kids. As I mentioned, the food was very good, but you do have to keep in mind that they're preparing food for a mass amount of people. So if you have a very high expectation, it might not live up to it. But all inclusive, it was very good food, and the drinks aren't as strong because people have a lot of them. But they were good. So I would say it was like a B average, food and drink experience. They have a pool, but one of the best things is that they have these organized activities. So there was like a pool party or like a dance party. There's always something going on. Even in the day, they had like aerobics in the water and just fun things for you to do if you don't just want to sit at the pool and read a book all day. Like they always had something going on.
Those events and things were led by, I guess, like they had staff members just for like making sure people are having fun. I don't know.
They are the pep people.
Yeah.
Like they were getting people out of their comfort zone and dancing around and stuff. And then there's also a nice area on the beach. They have chairs and umbrellas, and the ocean was really fun to go in. It did get deep. So it's fun to have little floats to go around in. And back to the restaurants, I believe there were like 5 different restaurants in the hotel. The room was very nice. The view was average. You could see the ocean, but it wasn't like a straight-on ocean view. I'm not sure if there are better views if you paid more money. I believe ours was called a partial ocean view, and that's what we got. So it was pretty good. More view of the pool than the ocean, though. And that's really it for the Rio Palace. If you have any questions, obviously comment them down below. But Nicholas is going to talk about the Ritz-Carlton.
So we moved from the Rio to the Ritz the day of the wedding. and we had an amazing wedding planner. The whole hotel was like so perfect with
all at the Ritz-Carlton.
At the Ritz-Carlton was so set up for our wedding and just were very personal. You get there, you have like a bottle of champagne for you and
chocolate covered strawberries.
Yeah, the Ritz-Carlton is known for their service, and we absolutely agree that they lived up to that expectation.
Definitely.
All throughout our stay there. So we kicked off with the wedding that first night, which was fantastic. It's a great wedding venue if you're looking to get married in Aruba. And then the rest was just a honeymoon. They had fantastic restaurants. There's 3 main ones, I think Italian, a steakhouse, and then
just like the pool food.
Yeah, they have a pool food, and then there's like a sushi bar in the lobby. You get this amazing view right when you walk into the hotel. The lobby looks straight out over into the beach with just all these glass pane windows. So I think the hotel is prettier.
Definitely prettier.
It's because it's not, adults only, so it's kind of all included into one. They have 2 pools. One is an adults only pool, but they're more or less right next to each other, and the other is, an adult and kids pool. They have a really nice beach area. It's definitely, their sand is better than at the Rio Palace. The Rio had
softer.
kind of rocky sand, or some of it was. And they have actually a sandbar that goes out farther. So they have the whole swimming area kind of roped off.
But it is public swimming area.
It is public. I think all beaches in Aruba are public. But you can walk out there really far into the sandbar without needing to float. While you're staying at the hotel, you get these complimentary floats. You get paddleboards.
Stand-up paddleboard, like a kayak, like a pedal boat kind of thing.
Yeah.
A bunch of different things to entertain you, which is really nice that it's complimentary.
They have beach service, so they'll bring food,
they're
drinks
on segways.
out. Yeah, and they just are shuttling back and forth, so they're, definitely whatever you need on the beach, they can bring it out to you. And then you go from the beach right back to the pool area where you can eat at the restaurant there. It's an outdoor restaurant.
And it was open for lunch. Like, it closed at nighttime and it wasn't open for breakfast. So it was basically just like a day pool kind of restaurant outside.
And as we had talked about the kite and windsurfing, if you're interested in doing that, one of the main areas on the island to do so, at least from a rental standpoint, is right next to the Ritz-Carlton. So the Ritz-Carlton is the last major hotel that is on that, I guess, whole stretch of hotels.
And the Rio was like the total opposite.
The first on the left,
was like
almost.
The first one, and then the Ritz was the last one.
Right. So you basically just walk right over from the Ritz, and then there's a few just like kind of like shacks where they have, kite and windsurfing rentals. You have instructions there, and so I went 3 days in a row just right over there to get instructions from one of the locals that was teaching.
All right, well, this video has been very long-winded, but hopefully helpful. Hopefully you like the footage that we included to show you exactly what we were talking about. And if you have any questions about hotels, restaurants, things to do, anything that we talked about or didn't talk about, leave them in the comments.
Or if you have suggestions next time we go back, please let us know as well.
We were thinking that maybe for our 5-year anniversary we could go there. Something that'd be fun because we absolutely loved it. But we will see you guys next time in our next video.
Bye guys.